In today's video, I wanted to talk about the 5 areas, or you can call it the 5 skills, that I had realized that is kind of important to paint loose floral watercolor art. So over the years of painting, I practiced and I developed the skills, and I learned from many teachers, and I've somehow distilled the whole thing into these 5 areas that we need to build and learn, and some are easier than the other, some takes longer to master, and some are some of the things that you can just do straight away no matter how experienced or inexperienced you are. So for each of the skill, I will be rating them in a scale of 0 to 5, 5 being the hardest to learn, and you need lots of practice, you need to put in the time, there's no way around it, to 0 or 1, which is like something you can just do right away. It's more of a mindset thing. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet here on YouTube, please just hit the subscribe button, because that will really help me grow my channel. I'm slowly trying to get to 20,000 subscribers. Right now I'm at 18. It's still a long way, but it would be wonderful that if you regularly watch me and just hit the subscribe button. That really won't take a lot. It won't cost you anything, basically. All right, that's it. Let's dive right into the first skill, or the first thing that you need as a floral, loose, watercolor, botanical painter, and that is brush strokes or mark making. So a lot of watercolor loose style is about the marks that you can make with your brush. So each petal, each leaf, each stem is not colored in like you would maybe, I don't know, color pencils or a different medium where you would outline it and just color it in, and that you don't really need like brush strokes sort of like skills. And a lot of realistic painting, you know, when you use oil or acrylic, yeah, you do need to have control of the brush, but you are mostly just sort of painting in the shades and the colors. Whereas for loose watercolor floral, each mark that you make with each brush can signify a petal, a leaf, a stamen, you know, a little detail on your plant or on your painting. So brush strokes are something that is so important, and some people, when they start watercolor, will already have a natural way, natural ease with the brush, and some people just take a longer time and you just need to practice. So I would say that brush strokes is something that is maybe 4 out of 5 in terms of difficulty, in terms of you really need a lot of repetition, a lot of practice. You need to put in the time to be able to develop the muscle memory for you to be able to confidently put down brush strokes, or rather just grow your confidence in this space. I remember my very early paintings when I didn't have that muscle memory, I didn't have that skill of brush strokes. A lot of my watercolor paintings, although I thought they were really great, now if I compare the paintings that I do now compared to then, the brush strokes were more wobbly, I would say, more not so confident, and they didn't really go exactly to how I would like the brush mark to make. And these days, because I put in so many hours of practice, my brush marks are really intuitive and they just come naturally, and I'm still discovering new brush marks and marks that I can make with my brush strokes. So brush strokes is definitely a big bucket, a major skill that you need to develop, and I would consider that 4 out of 5. The next one is wet on wet. So a lot of my florals, a lot of watercolor painters love to put wet paint in water or wet paper, and it will create beautiful bleeds, beautiful fades and gradients and ombre effects. And actually, this is a skill that's quite easy. Like, anyone can do it. You just take wet paper, you wet the paper and you put some pigment in, and there you go, wet on wet. So a lot of my petals on my irises, or a lot of like splotches on my poppies, I love to use this technique, this skill or technique called wet on wet, where I will charge in a wet area with wet paint. I love to do it on my leaves as well. So, and I think this is a big element, a big hallmark of what makes a beautiful watercolor flower painting. And skill level, I would say 2 out of 5. maybe even 1 out of 5. It does require a bit of water control, a bit of, familiarity with the pigments, but it is something that you can apply straight away. You don't need to have years and years of practice. Anyone can do wet on wet. It's a fun thing to teach little kids to do. So wet on wet, 2 out of 5. Okay, the next one is value scale, or you can also say water control. So in watercolor, we add water to lighten the colors to get a lighter value. Value is the term we use for dark or light. So a dark value, we use less water. We almost use the paint as is, and it creates a nice, thick, almost opaque, creamy texture. And you keep adding water, it gets lighter and lighter and lighter. So values is one of the biggies of how to create a really interesting, powerful, dynamic painting. Another artist I love to quote, her name is Sandy Hester, and I think she maybe have quoted this from another artist, but if you make a piece of art and you just play in the middle, like you only use the mid values, it's like playing only the middle part of a piano scale. So just like a piano scale will have low notes and high notes, in the painting as well, it's really important to get the dark darks and the light lights in one painting to make it really pop. And I love doing it in like one flower to make some petals dark, some petals light. I do it in the leaves. But this is actually really easy to implement if you're taught straight away, like I'm teaching you how to do it now. But to just take it off tutorials and do it on your own, it takes some time. So, and also it takes a while for you to understand how much water your brush can hold, how much water it is that you should have on the mixing well, and how much water is on the paper. So water control is something that you need to familiarize yourself with over time, and connecting to your tools and just doing lots and lots of painting will help with that. So I would consider value control / water control maybe 3.5 out of 5 in terms of skill level. It's something that you need to build. You can't just get it straight away. Unfortunately, it's something you just have to exercise the muscle over and over again to get this skill down pat. All right, so that's the third one. And then the fourth one, the fourth skill, I believe it's really important. I call it observation. So this applies to not just watercolor, and I think most art, is how well you can observe your subject or your photo reference or your live flower and be able to interpret that into your painting. What I mean is, are you able to really look at your subject and see shadow and light? Are you able to pick out the details that you want from your reference and not get overwhelmed by it? Are you able to look at a flower formation and kind of like translate that into a brush stroke? And this is also something I feel like takes time. It really, really does take time. It's something that is really hard to teach. It's one of those things where you just really got to practice over and over again and look at all the different subjects that you want to paint so many different things, and also, learn by seeing how other artists interpret seeing into doing. So the power of observation, it's a big one. I would put that also 3.5 out of 5. It's something that takes a while to master, but it's not hard to start. It's not hard to start practicing doing that. And the last one, which is super, super important in loose floral expressive watercolor painting, is you gotta play, experiment, and take risks. This is super key. This forms the energy in your painting, the feeling you get when you look at a painting, the splatter marks, the unexpected sort of like twists and turns of your brush, the risks that you take on the paper. This requires zero skill. It really does. Children do this automatically. They learn by experimenting, by playing, by putting 2 and 2 together and see what happens. And that's a big, big element in this practice, which a lot of adult artists really find hard to do because it's something that's actually inherent in us and has been trained out of us in adulthood. So for example, the way I adopt this is I hardly have a little planning sheet next to my actual painting where I test colors and I plan palettes. Everything I do and experiment is on my live painting straight away. I'll put in a color and then I'll be like, oh, I actually didn't really want that color in, and then I'll change it up as I go. So my entire experimentation, play, taking risk happens on the live painting itself. And that is actually really the secret sauce to what makes a painting feel human and alive and less planned and perfect. So this last skill, taking risk, play, and experimentation, I lump them all together, take 0 out of 5 to start straight away in your art practice. These are the 5 big pockets that I really feel it's important. And if you're interested to learn more from me, I have an upcoming online course that I have been working on, and it's called Flow In, the Intuitive Pathway to Loose Florals, where I really expand on these 5 things. In like my course is now looking, I don't know, about 9 hours long now. I take you on a step-by-step journey from the fundamentals to all the loose skills you need, the soft skills that I talked about, you know, the experimentation, the play, because that needs to be trained in as well. And then I take you through the more hard skills that we also need to, like the brush strokes and the values and the composition and all of those things, all in entirety in one course I call Flow In. The waitlist is now open. Go ahead and join my waitlist. The link is below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've taken away something. Let me know in the comments which of these buckets you're working on right now. Which one is your focus, because we can't be focusing on all of the things all the time. I'd love to hear more from you. Otherwise, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.